opportunities.
The cuts are coming. Thousands of teaching positions are on the chopping block right across the province. 3,500 teaching positions could be gone in the next 4 years. The Ford government says the plan will save millions, but critics say it's the students who will take the biggest hit. Alicia San joins us live from outside York Humber School. And Ali, there are big fears about the impact that these changes will have on the education system.
Yeah, we know there's going to be larger class sizes. This leaked internal memo gave the students, for example, who protested yesterday, a lot more to shout about. So it felt tense at school today.
Yeah, because yesterday was more like loud and open, but then today was kind of a little scarier, I guess, because like it's kind of hitting you like
the reality.
It's happening, like unless we do something.
I'm a track and field athlete myself, so I know that in order to actually get teachers that are willing to participate in the sport and help us out, they have to spend a lot of time with us because there's so many practices and so many meets. So in order to be able to keep that going with the budget cuts, I'm worried that we may not be able to.
Questions are swirling. What does this mean for school teams and clubs? What about class size? The average for grades 9 to 12 will go up to 28 from the current average of 22.
Like last semester, having 30 people in my French class, there wasn't a lot of time for individual students who were struggling with French. So if there's 40 people in a class, like I don't even know how that'll work.
We now know the Ontario government plans to phase out almost 3,500 full-time teaching jobs over the next 4 years in order to save hundreds of millions of dollars.
Our teachers are already stretched pretty thin.
NDP education critic Merritt Stiles says it's at the expense of student development.
It is often teachers that end up spending that extra time to provide students with that extracurricular help, and we know that if they're tired, if they have to prep for bigger classes, it's going to be more difficult.
There are about 5,000 schools in Ontario, so this means less than one teaching position per school.
We know this hits certain students harder than others.
U of T professor Arlo Kempf specializes in education.
Fewer teachers in the building means that certain courses that maybe had a smaller class size, they won't be able to run those. Teachers will be able to do less. And the options for students who maybe most need those extra hooks and tools for engaging in school, there's a good chance that those will be unavailable increasingly for students in our schools.
Kempf says concerned parents should be talking to their school boards about what the local impact is, and for the kids to keep it up.
There are over 100,000 students, is our estimate, that walked out yesterday. Most of those people are not old enough to vote. I'm not old enough to vote. And that does not mean that Doug Ford and his provincial government gets to destroy my education.
He needs to know that all these students are impacted, and that's why all of us are raising our voices.
Since the memo came out, the Minister of Education issued a statement explaining that this is going to be done through attrition, meaning they just won't be filling the 3,500 jobs that naturally become vacant over the next 4 years after teachers retire or quit. And all of these numbers are actually subject to change. We have learned from that memo as well that they are still in the consultation process. Dwight.
Thank you, Ali. Toronto's community housing is getting more than $1 billion. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made the announcement today alongside the mayor, saying the feds are committed to repairing the crumbling buildings. Our City Hall reporter Lauren Pelly was at the announcement and joins us live now. And Lauren, this is a lot of much-needed money.
It's much needed, and it's been much needed for quite a long time. The city has been talking about the backlog of repairs for years. And today, a new commitment from the federal government. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau joined ministers and city officials at a Toronto community housing complex in Scarborough. There, he announced $1.3 billion in funding that's coming over the next decade. It's all going towards renovating tens of thousands of units.
It's huge news for almost 60,000 families living across the city who are going to see much-needed renovations.
This is a great day to make life better, to build up our community, and not just to build it up in terms of repairs and in terms of a better quality of life for people, but it is going to do a lot right here in this very building.
Now, as you just heard Mayor John Tory saying there, that particular building in Scarborough near Eglinton and Bellamy Road is set to get nearly $6 million for repair work. Now, this funding boost is all coming in a combination of cash and loans, and it's thanks to a massive nationwide housing fund the federal government started in May 2018. Dwight?
All right, Lauren, $1 billion, a big chunk of money, but will it be enough to tackle the backlog we have here?
That is a good question. As I said, we've been talking about this backlog for years now, and we know that Toronto Community Housing has been in dire straits. I've been inside some of these buildings personally, as have many reporters here, and we've heard the stories about leaking ceilings and crumbling walls, issues that are faced by thousands of residents across this city. And it's a situation that is set to get worse. City data shows the repair backlog for Toronto Community Housing buildings was slated to hit more than $3 billion by 2028. Now, those numbers came out before this federal announcement, but that amount is double what the feds committed today over that same time period. Now, I asked Anna Bailau, she's chair of the Planning and Housing Committee with the City Council here, and this is what she had to say about what Toronto Community Housing could be facing in the years ahead if more money didn't come in.
We know that if we don't invest this money, eventually we would have to go back to closing units. That's what we're talking about.
Now, this year alone, Toronto Community Housing is set to invest more than $300 million into this type of work. And the repairs across the city sparked by this new funding injection are set to start this spring. But remember, in 6 months, we also have a federal election coming up. And we'll see if the Liberals are still in power after that.
Yes, we will.
Dwight?
Thank you, Lauren. A Toronto insolvency manager says he's seeing an increase in cases of tenants at the brink of bankruptcy, and it's all because of renovictions. That's when a landlord evicts a tenant to renovate a property. Farah Morelli has more.
Hello.
Hey, Paul, it's Farah.
For 9.5 years, musician Paul Kalinsky has called this apartment on Dovercourt home.
Yeah, so welcome to my little place.
But maybe not for much longer.
It says that they want us to end our tenancy, and by this notice, it's by the 28th of February of this year, which is now passed.
The building's new owner sent out eviction notices saying they need to replace the wiring system.
How much rent are you paying right now?
I am paying $830 monthly plus hydro.
A quick search of the building online shows a bachelor unit now rents for more than $1,600, nearly double what Kalinsky pays.
I know that people paying similar rent to me that I am here are living on couches, in other places.
So this is a basic outline of how a consumer proposal works.
This insolvency manager says renovictions can lead to worse scenarios than couch surfing.
So you've actually worked with people who, after being renovicted, had to go to like a payday loan type place, and that has ultimately led them to bankruptcy.
Yeah, oftentimes that's the last straw.
He says he usually sees people after a divorce or a job loss, but now he's seeing people spiral into financial ruin after being renovicted.
Probably seen half a dozen in the last few months, and that's a lot. Doesn't sound like much, but I've never seen it before.
Terrio says it's a 1-2 punch for tenants who've lived at the same place for years. They're entering a market that's way more pricey and forced to come up with first and last month's rent.
Our number one piece of advice to tenants is do not move out.
The trend doesn't surprise those at the Parkdale Legal Clinic. While some renovictions are perfectly legal, it says it's seeing a spike in illegal renovictions.
So it's a very destructive process that has severe implications for people's lives.
You're an exceptionally good boy.
That's exactly what Kalinsky's doing, staying put.
I'm in for the fight.
He considers himself a middle-class renter, but each day he says he feels closer to the brink.
And I think, we traditionally were not among the part of society that was on the cutting edge, but the cutting edge is moving closer to us.
Farah Morelli, CBC News, Toronto.
Remember, if you have a story you would like us to look into, just send us an email, torontotips@cbc.ca. Former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould has responded to allegations she made demands about how her successor, David Lametti, should treat the SNC Lavalin file. She denied the charges in an interview with CBC Radio's morning show in Vancouver today.
I would absolutely never do that. I'm very clear on what my role was as the Attorney General, and the discussion that we've been having for the last number of months is around the fundamental principle of prosecutorial independence.
Wilson-Raybould was responding to information provided to CBC by anonymous sources. They allege she had a list of conditions to end her differences with the party. They allegedly included demanding that Lametti would not overrule the Director of Public Prosecutions and direct her to give SNC-Lavalin a deferred prosecution agreement, and also the firing of the Prime Minister's Principal Secretary, Gerald Butts, along with Clerk of the Privy Council, Michael Wernick, and the PMO Senior Advisor, Mathieu Bouchard. Lastly, her demands allegedly included an apology from the Prime Minister. When asked about the firings this morning, Wilson-Raybould would not answer, saying she does not respond to anonymous sources. And regarding the apology from Trudeau, she said she believed an apology to Canadians would go a long way. SNC-Lavalin is taking one more try at getting that deferred prosecution agreement. It is filing an appeal to the federal court, which tossed out the company's case in March. The Prime Minister was asked today whether the government supports a DPA for the company.
The courts will follow their appropriate process. The Attorney General, as we've heard many times over the past weeks, has the responsibility to make a determination on whether and how to intervene in matters before the courts.
SNC is asking the court to take a new look at the case based on what the company says is new information revealed when Jody Wilson-Raybould testified at the Justice Committee hearings last month. And SNC is making news for a different reason today. The company has signed a deal to sell part of its stake in Highway 407. 10% will be sold to the OMERS pension plan. The deal is worth more than $3 billion. Under the terms of the deal, SNC will keep a 6% stake in the toll highway. The company says part of the money from the sale will be used to repay debt. A special reunion today for a London woman, one she has been waiting for more than a decade. Debbie Asimwe was in Rwanda when the genocide broke out in 1994. She lost her parents and 8 of her siblings. Her brother Robert initially survived the bloodshed but died years later from the injuries he sustained. He left behind 3 daughters and 1 son. Debbie took them in and cared for them, but in 2008, she left Rwanda for Canada, settling in London, never forgetting the promise she made to her brother's 4 children that someday she would bring them to Canada as well.
So happy they're here finally. There's no more like next year, next time. So happy.
I'm overwhelmed, I'm joyful, I'm happy, I'm extremely excited. Even now I feel like I'm dreaming, well, it's real life. It's happening right now here in Toronto, Canada.
My dream has come true. I've really come here. I'm so excited, I'm happy. I want to see how school is here, everything.
I want to see snow, I want to see school of this way, and I want to interact with people this way. I feel like it's a dream, then got excited, so happy, so grateful.
Yeah, my dream has come true, so I'm just looking to become a successful woman and Canada to be proud of me. Yeah.
Now we're together forever. Yeah.
Asimwe has adopted all 4 children. They will be living with her and her daughter in London. A nice, heartwarming story there, Nick, on a not-so-nice day out there, buddy.
Yeah, no, it was only around 2-3 degrees. Lots of drizzle out there as well. However, I'm going to start out on the bright note here, folks. It does get warmer, and it gets warmer starting tomorrow. Before that, though, we've got a little bit of drizzle to deal with across the GTA. It looks like just cloud cover here, but it's really just because we've got this sort of moist atmosphere and we've got cooler temperatures right now, but all of this is changing over the next 24 hours. So that's what we've got tonight. Right now, we're sitting around 2 degrees. We were up to 3 earlier on. That's about as warm as it got for the day today. However, by tomorrow, you'll add a 1 to this side of the temperature. We'll get to that in just a second here. Tonight, look for fog patches to develop across the GTA. We're already seeing mist developing in the area, and the difference there is just the visibility. So as it goes down, there's a threshold where it becomes fog, and I expect to see some of that across the GTA today. It'll clear out by tomorrow, but I've kept the temperatures to about 12 degrees just in case the cloud cover sticks around a little bit longer. With that drizzle tonight, we've got a special weather statement in effect in areas north for patchy freezing rain. This is temperatures hover around the 0 mark. For us, though, 3 degrees tonight is what we're looking at. Cloud cover, the chance of seeing a little bit more in the way of drizzle through the overnight, but otherwise just cloudy. Risk of fog patches for tomorrow morning. High tomorrow of 12 degrees with a mix of sun and cloud, and that is not as warm as it gets. It actually gets warmer. We'll have full details coming up.
Thank you, Nick.
You bet.
Did the OPP bungle an investigation into a young man who was killed in an ATV crash? Coming up, Mark Kelly from the Fifth Estate will join us on their look into the death of Jake Hughes and why his parents believe there's more to it than investigators are letting on. An Oshawa man claims he was fired from his job because of his sexual orientation. Michael Gale worked at Marshall's in 2018. He says managers started treating him differently when they found out he's gay. As Natalie Nanowski tells us, he's now looking for justice.
For Michael Gale, landing a job at Marshall's felt like a step in the right direction.
If you actually go to Gay Pride, you go to any of those situations, you actually see Marshall's, HomeSense, and Winners. They're plastered all over their Gay Pride flags. So I knew it was going to be an accepting place.
And he says it was until management found out he's gay.
I had my nails painted black, and I walked in and I said hey to Crystal, the head manager at the time. She said hey, like everything was good, but as I walked past, she started a conversation about how nail polish on men is disgusting and making all these other comments.
Even his co-workers noticed.
Well, yeah, they made fun of his eyeliner enough times. They asked me why he dyes his hair.
Eventually, Gale filed an HR complaint. An investigation found that management, quote, participated in hurtful conversations. But things didn't get better.
It was just more of being treated differently.
In the fall, a few months after his complaint, Gale got into a disagreement with a manager and contacted HR, saying he had been given an impossible task. But this time, Marshall's fired him, saying, quote, he wasn't modeling the company's values.
The thought of my sexual orientation just made everybody uncomfortable after that incident. It just, they were trying to push me out of the way.
Since that moment in October, Gale has had a difficult time going back to work.
Every time you go near somebody now, when you're in a workplace, you always have to question, like, what are they thinking? Like, are they judging me?
Gale has taken his case to Ontario's Human Rights Tribunal. He'll find out if they'll hear it in the coming months. Marshall's, however, won't comment on the matter because of that. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Oshawa.
Look at the sea of plastic, David.
Yeah. So much plastic exists in everyday life, and most of it heads straight to the landfill. CBC's Marketplace is digging into the issue and asking what Ottawa is doing about it. More on that after the break.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister has a warning for Canadians a few months ahead of the federal election in the fall. Chrystia Freeland says it is very likely outside powers will try to interfere in the process.
We think there have probably already been efforts by malign foreign actors to disrupt our democracy.
Freeland was responding to a question by a reporter about how concerned she was about the prospect of Russia meddling in the upcoming Canadian election. She says the goal of interference isn't necessarily to influence the outcome of the election, but to make our societies more polarized. Freeland says her government is working to put safeguards in place. An important aspect of that, she says, is making the public more aware. A big change is coming to public school washrooms across British Columbia. They've been ordered to provide free menstrual products for students by the end of the year.
These products should be available to students when and where they need them. And we are making this possible with a $300,000 startup funding for all school districts.
Officials say the products will help provide a better learning environment for students. It's estimated 1 in 7 young women have missed class or other school activities because they couldn't afford menstrual products. BC is also giving a $95,000 grant to the United Way. It will go to a poverty reduction campaign that provides period products to women in need. The vast majority of the plastic we use in Canada is never recycled, much of it's single-use plastic packaging. Around the world, some governments are cracking down, and our federal government tells CBC Marketplace a new strategy is coming here too, and soon. David Common has more.
No.
Go grocery shopping, and there's just no escaping it.
Look at the sea of plastic, David.
Yeah. Product after product coated in layer after layer.
That's a complete waste. Complete waste. Shame on that company.
And, says environmental journalist Adria Vassal, just 11% of it ever gets recycled. Much of it can't be, even if it ends up in the blue bin.
Not recyclable. Not recyclable. Not recyclable. End of story.
Governments have talked about taking action to reduce plastic, and now the European Union is doing that, announcing a ban on plastic cutlery, plates, straws, coffee stirrers, cotton buds, and styrofoam containers. So what about Canada? We asked you to send us pictures of what you thought was most egregious, then ran a poll to rate the worst packages, ending up with these 6 products.
I think it's totally bonkers.
A chocolate bar. And we showed them all to the Federal Environment Minister, Catherine McKenna.
With plastic, more plastic.
With more plastic, and then inside...
No, tell me it's not, no, tell me no!
Yeah, more plastic. And stand by, says McKenna, a national strategy to reduce single-use plastics is coming to Canada, but not necessarily an outright ban as some have called for. Why not just come out and say, we're done with these?
We are looking at that, and this is part of our strategy, so we're working with provinces and territories.
In the meantime, 90% of those polled said plastic pollution is a problem. As other countries take the lead on fighting back, Canada's plan has yet to be revealed. David Common, CBC News, Ottawa.
To find out which overpackaged product was rated the worst, watch the full investigation tonight on Marketplace at 8 p.m. on CBC, or stream it by downloading the CBC Gem app.
Game 1's a couple days from now, and we need to be ready for it.
What's wrong with the Leafs? I'm Greg Ross. The postseason is just days away, and the Leafs have only 3 wins in their last 10 games. Should fans be worried as they get set for a tough playoff series against the rival Bruins? We'll have that story coming up.
A court appearance today for one of the suspects accused in the kidnapping of 22-year-old Markham student Wanjian Liu. Liu was assaulted and abducted from his garage a couple of weeks ago. Nick Rivera was at the appearance.
It was a brief court appearance today for Abdullahi Adan, and it still hasn't been decided if the 37-year-old is going to be granted bail in this case. He was the first of two people who have now been arrested in the kidnapping case of Wanjian Liu. The other was arrested in Brampton earlier this week, but it does seem that police are making some progress in this case. Just yesterday, York Police issued a Canada-wide warrant for the third person who is believed to have taken part in this allegedly violent kidnapping. Here's what York Police have to say.
We have put his photo out. He is considered armed and dangerous, and we're actively seeking him. We're also advising him to seek legal counsel and turn himself in. It really is only a matter of time before we locate him. We're also seeking that fourth suspect, the one that has the blue pants that you can see in the pictures that we've put out. We don't have that person identified as of yet.
All of the suspects who have been either arrested or identified are facing similar charges at the moment, including kidnapping, forcible confinement, and assault. They're accused of targeting the Chinese international student Wanjian Liu in the parking garage underneath his condo in Markham. It's believed that there were 4 people in total who took part in this. 2 have been arrested, 1 has been identified. It's not yet clear who this fourth person may be, but police say they are making good progress and getting a lot of helpful information from the public. Nick Boisvert, CBC News, Newmarket.
My son wasn't responsible for his own death, and somebody else was. So I think that boy needs to be held accountable for it.
Nearly 7 years after Jake Hughes was killed in an ATV crash in Cottage Country, his parents are hoping a new RCMP investigation will get to the bottom of what happened. Their story is the focus of a Fifth Estate investigation airing on Sunday night. Mark Kelly is here to tell us about it. And Mark, the family here believes that the OPP bungled the initial investigation into what happened to their son.
That's right, Dwight. And it's been the focus of a relentless campaign by his parents for almost 7 years now. They believe, here we had an end of summer celebration, 10 friends at a cottage. 2 friends get on ATV, they drive into the woods. One comes running out and says there's been a terrible accident. Jake Hughes, 19 years old. He's lying almost dead on the ground. He would die on the scene later. When the OPP arrived, they said, well, who was driving the ATV at the time? The survivor says Jake was. It seemed to be an open and shut case, but there was a twist. The father of Jake Hughes happens to be a police officer himself in the Niagara Regional Police Force. He started looking into the OPP investigation. He said, this doesn't make sense.
So what do they think really happened?
Well, what they believed, and he was using evidence that was gathered here, this is Jake's father, what he believed was the driver actually ducked down at the last second. It was Jake who then absorbed the impact of that iron gate that they collided with. He started doing reenactments. The OPP said that's impossible. He started doing reenactments himself to prove it was possible. He started going through the evidence that the OPP had come up with, say there was a scuff on the other boy's helmet, and there was a red mark on the fence consistent with the fact of this theory that he could have ducked under there. The OPP never actually tested those pieces of evidence forensically. So more and more pressure started coming onto the OPP to say what exactly happened on that day. It's an incredible story of a parent's drive to push for the truth.
So then how did our now National Police Service, the RCMP, get involved in this?
Well, this is the result of it, and this is really the cautionary tale for a lot of people out there, because people who would accept that when a police come up with their findings in a sudden death investigation, that should just be taken as the letter of the law. They didn't believe it. They've been putting pressure. There's actually been one review that was done by the Peel Regional Police that confirms what the parents believe, that in fact their son was the passenger. And now the RCMP, thanks to all the pressure that's been brought to bear on the OPP has called the RCMP in to review the facts of this case. A finding will come out on June 1st, and the parents are hoping it will confirm their belief all along, that in fact their son was the passenger, but more importantly, that the boy who was driving that ATV, he has to claim responsibility and he has to take accountability for what happened on that day. That report will come out on June 1st, and we'll be following that story, Dwight.
And these parents aren't getting up. We're looking forward to your full documentary, which will air this Sunday at 9 p.m. on CBC television. You can also stream it with the CBC Gem app or on the Fifth's YouTube page. The anniversary of the Humboldt Broncos bus crash is tomorrow, And victims are very much on the minds of loved ones. Some family, friends, and survivors now have tattoos paying tribute to the victims. One of the players who was injured in the crash says the tattoos create a sense of comfort and peace because they are a permanent tribute to those who died. You can see more of these photos on our CBC News Instagram page. And we will be live streaming the Humboldt Memorial tomorrow on CBC. You can watch it on the CBC News Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter feeds, or on CBC News Network. That will begin tomorrow around 6:30 p.m. The Stanley Cup playoffs start next week, and with just 3 wins in their last 10 games, our Leafs seem to be stumbling rather than skating into the playoffs. Greg Ross is at Scotiabank Arena, where he has been talking to nervous fans. And Greg, they're worried we may make a quick exit from this year's playoffs.
Yeah, I think they are. Let's face it, it's always better for teams to go into the playoffs on a high note, especially when you consider what the Leafs are facing in the first round. They have to play the Boston Bruins, the same team that knocked them out of the first round of the playoffs last year. And the Bruins have been one of the hottest teams in the NHL in recent months. So safe to say that right now, Leaf fans are starting to lose hope.
Boston's going to smoke us. 4 straight.
I don't think they're hardened enough yet. It seems like they've lost a stride.
That's what some Leaf fans were saying today. A huge contrast from the way Leaf fans were talking last summer.
We are winning the cup.
That was just moments after the team announced they had signed free agent forward John Tavares, joining stars Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner on a team many thought destined to contend for a championship. You placed a bet on the Leafs winning the Stanley Cup at the beginning of this season.
My girlfriend did it on my behalf at the Bellagio. Pays $55 on a $5 bet.
At one time, the Leafs were considered one of the favorites. This week, Vegas odds have them down to 16-1.
You're
going to win your $55 this year?
Can I talk to you after game 1?
No. While
okay.
Fans may be
You're putting me
unsure,
on.
Players on the Leafs say they have no worries.
How concerning is it as a team when you're struggling going into the playoffs? You guys just have 3 wins in your last 10 games. Is there any kind of concern here, any sense of urgency?
Usually we're struggling. I don't know if that's really what I'm taking out of it. I think you're focusing too much on the wins and losses. I think what we've been focusing on is the way we've been playing.
I mean, is there a sense of urgency building in this room right now because of the way things have gone?
No. No. We're confident in our group. We're confident in our structure.
But there does seem to be some concern when it comes to goaltending.
Well, just over a period of time, obviously, things weren't going the right way.
And that's why Leafs backup netminder Garrett Sparks has been taken out of the lineup for the next 10 days. Return scores! Sparks led the Toronto Marlies to the Calder Cup last year, but so far this year, he hasn't adjusted well to life in the NHL.
We needed him to get it back. He needs to get it back, and so it's real important as an organization that we help him out and that he helps himself, so that's where that's at.
Sparks is now going to be working with the Leafs goaltending coaches for the next 10 days on a conditioning stint. In the meantime, they have called up Michael Hutchinson from the Marlies. He is going to start, or at least he's going to be on the bench as the backup goaltender for the Leafs when they play their final game of the regular season tomorrow night in Montreal. But no doubt, this is a strange move, Dwight, when you think the Leafs tinkering with their lineup, sending a player on a conditioning stint with the playoffs just days away. And it looks like Hutchinson will be their backup goaltender, at least for the early part of those playoffs.
Yeah, that was an interesting move. Thank you, Greg. Tomorrow doesn't just mark the end of the season for the Leafs and the Canadiens. It also is the swan song for legendary play-by-play man Bob Cole. He's been the voice of countless iconic moments over a half-century. Cole reflected on his career with the national host Ian Hanomansing.
So I'm going to say a couple of things and just you respond however you want. Oh, baby.
I don't know where that came from. I don't know. I think I use that around the house at home if I spill something I shouldn't have spilled. Oh, baby. You know, it's just a thing. And then Mario brought it to the fore with that beautiful goal where he just blew everybody away and with his ability.
Here's Lemieux. The center penalty coming up. Look at Lemieux. Oh, my heavens. What a goal. What a move. Lemieux. Oh, baby.
They're going home.
Yeah, that was, I thought I had lost my job that day. Sunday afternoon in Philadelphia. The old Spectrum in Philadelphia was so close to the ice, you're down low. And when the players were arguing with the referee and they were leaving, they decided, and they were walking right underneath me. And we were dumbfounded. They're going home, I think. And it just happened.
They're going home. Yeah, they're going home. Can you imagine? Denny, it's been a short afternoon.
There's no rehearsing that. That just happened.
And now, the Philadelphia Flyers roam around a little bit, and they're going home.
Last thing, I mean, it's been a long, fantastic career. You know, we talked about Foster Hewitt, and as I say, one of the things I love is the connection between Foster Hewitt and you, and between you and who knows who 30, 40 years from now. When we think in terms of the Bob Cole legacy, what do you hope people think about?
That whoever is tuned in today is enjoying the game. And never mind me or whomever broadcasting. Enjoy the game. And I'm trying to pass the message along to the viewers that I am enjoying the game. Done my job.
Well, mission accomplished.
Okay, Ian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's just a bit of Ian's interview with Bob Cole. You can watch the full interview on the Nationals YouTube page. Of course, you can hear Bob Cole's final call here on CBC tomorrow night. The Leafs play the Habs on Hockey Night in Canada at 7 p.m. Come on, Nick. Everybody's going to miss that "Oh Baby."
I know. Tell me about it, eh? It's an iconic voice and everything. You know what they're not going to miss, though? The drizzle and the cooler temperatures. I'm trying to find a segue here. You know, today it was just that sort of persistent cloud cover, drizzle. But the good news in all of this is that this is coming with sort of a warmer, more humid air mass. That's going to drive temperatures up over the next 24, not even 24 hours, but 12 hours or so, by tomorrow morning, in fact. We're looking at the rainfall moving off to the east. However, we are left with this. We've got these special weather statements for patchy freezing rain up north. And now just within the last half hour, fog advisories down around the Hamilton areas, as mentioned earlier. We're already seeing fog and mist developing. And this is what I want to show you, though. We are getting into a warmer air mass. Look at Windsor right now, 13 degrees. And that was the daytime high for Windsor. You go up to the Golden Horseshoe and temperatures around 2 degrees. This is headed our way very shortly. As we move through the next 24 hours, we're expecting to see, again, some cloud cover tonight and some fog for tomorrow morning. Then sunny breaks through tomorrow afternoon. By Sunday morning, though, that's when we get that real mild air coming in. So warm front, and underneath it, we've got warmer air moving in. Sunday, look for cloudy conditions. Sunday evening, around 7, 8 p.m., showers to move into the GTA, and that's going to last until Monday morning or Monday early afternoon. In terms of rainfall totals, not a whole lot with this, but there is the risk for some isolated thunderstorms. So generally about 10 millimeters of rain, 15 perhaps, but with localized thunderstorms, we could see a bit more than that. Overnight tonight, down to 3 degrees again with those fog patches. We move through tomorrow, highs of 12 degrees, and that comes with a mix of sun and cloud by the afternoon hours. It gets a little warmer than that, though, into Sunday, 13 degrees, and I'm keeping these temperatures lower, but if we end up getting a bit more sunshine, these numbers will go up 1 or 2 degrees. 16 on Monday, by the way. There's your overnight rainfall. Cools off a little bit into next week. However, double digits for the most part there, which I like to see because it's about time.
Yeah, it really is. Looking good. Thank you, Nick.
Goodbye.
What are your superpowers? Superpowers, dude? I don't even know how to pee in this thing.
TMI, buddy. That's not something you'd expect to hear in a superhero movie, but DC Comics Shazam is touting itself as an unconventional superhero flick. But will it be a hit with audiences? Eli's review coming up after the break.
superpowers?
Superpowers, dude? I don't even know how to pee in this thing.
Okay, can you fly?
I believe I can fly. I believe I...
Did you believe? Yeah! You want to try invisibility?
In the battle of comic book movie supremacy, DC has been lagging behind Marvel for a few years until Wonder Woman and Aquaman came along. Now, DC's trying to continue the streak with Shazam. For more, here's our film guy, Eli Glasner. So let's start with where this version begins.
Kind of in Toronto, because they shot so much of it. It's trying to be Philadelphia, but we know it's
a cold Toronto.
Yeah, exactly. So we actually begin with Billy Batson, and he is a kid who lost his mother. Very sad, very frustrated, has been shunted from group home to group home. He's meeting his new family. They seem lovely, they seem warm and inviting, so we'll see him meeting the new mom and meeting Freddie, another foster kid who happens to be disabled, and just showing him around. So there's Billy, but let's take a closer look.
This is Billy Batson. Make sure you make him feel at home.
They seem nice, but don't buy it. It gets real Game of Thrones around here. Dude, just messing around. You look at me and you're like, why so dark? You're a disabled foster kid. You've got it all.
So that is Jack Dylan Grazer. Very funny, kind of steals the show from Billy Boy there as Freddie, the friend. Interesting thing about Freddie is obsessed with superheroes. Like, he has a bullet that he collected that bounced off Superman's chest. So he's a good friend to have in this world. So there's our Billy. He's trying to adjust, and then he runs into some bullies, and as he's running away from them, he jumps on a subway that looks very TCC-like, but this subway stops not at Bloor, but a magic cave with a wizard looking for a champion. Let's find out what happened.
Say my name so my powers may flow through you.
But I don't know your name, sir.
Shazam.
Are you for real?
Say, okay!
Shazam?
There he is, Zachary Levi, as, well, he used to be Captain Marvel, but we can't call him Captain Marvel anymore because there's another Captain Marvel, and she's also kicking butt at the box office, so let's call him Big Red for now, or they call him Shazam, which doesn't make sense because if you're a hero and you say your name and then you transform, that's complicated also. But anyways, Zachary Levi, what he brings to this hero, Dwight, is a sense of glee, of fun. I mean, imagine you're a teenager and suddenly you inhabit this grown-up body, and not only a grown-up body, but with superpowers. So this is like the movie Big with a power upgrade. And of course, what do they do first? Test drive. Let's see, what can he do? So he's punching, he's flying, he's trying to do laser eyes, and they're doing what teenagers would do, which includes, by the way, trying to buy beer.
So I remember Shazam when I was a kid. I used to watch it. Who's the target audience then for this one?
So I went to see this with my own private focus group, the Flores Glasners, my family. I enjoyed it. My son enjoyed it. My daughter, who's 13, loved it. And I think something about the tone, like, it's just so much fun. And even the colors, right? It's not Marvel. It's not gritty. It's not, like, look at the costume, right? It's red. It is a red costume. He's got a light bulb for, like, a symbol there. The lightning bolt's always glowing. So they're just really enjoying and reveling in the powers. Now, I would say, I'm not going to call him Captain Original because I've seen that kind of, hey, I have powers joy before. I think Spider-Man did it very well. I also think the actor who plays Billy, who is Asher Angel, could have been a little more interesting or exciting. He's not the most, novel performance. And then there's the bad guy. I mean, every hero is only as good as the bad guy. You have a colorful personality for Shazam. Well, the bad guy is Mark Strong playing Dr. Savannah. He's evil, he's bald, he wears a coat, he's kind of grumpy. Let's take a look.
You're like a bad guy, right? Okay. Look, before this gets really stupid for you, you should know that I'm basically invincible. So you don't...
The weapons of man draw no blood from our kind. The only thing that extinguishes magic is magic.
Okay, so he's got a nice left hook and a cool leather jacket, but the dialogue's kind of basic, but those are quibbles. For the kids especially, this is a blast. 3.5 stars out of 5.
To watch it just because Toronto stars in it too.
Riddled with Toronto and Torontonians, yes.
Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome.
It is Easter Seals Marathon weekend. After the break, hear from one incredible young girl who is this year's Easter Seals Provincial Ambassador.
We're not bound to these things that you think we are. We're able to do more than you think.
The Easter Seals Telethon takes place this Sunday here on CBC television. I got a chance to meet this year's provincial ambassador. Madison Dean was diagnosed with osteogenesis imperfecta disease at age 5. She also has epilepsy, and although her life can be really difficult and challenging, this bright and bubbly young lady is up for the challenge. Madison, we're going to start with an explanation of what is osteogenesis imperfecta.
Osteogenesis imperfecta is a brittle bone disease where it means I can break easily from a little bit of pressure, from a fall, and it means it's kind of affected my life a little bit.
So the slightest kind of bump or pressure, you could break something. What's it like living with something like that?
I've never known anything different.
Yes.
But it means that I'm definitely got a lot of setbacks from missing school, or that I break often, that it's hard for me to participate in different things.
You use a walker, a wheelchair, stair lifts, a bath lift. I could go through all the different things that you need to help you get through the day. How has Easter Seals helped you with that?
They have provided most of the stuff that I use, like stair lifts for me to be able to get up and down the stairs like in a regular day if I break. They have provided me with my bed, which helps me if I'm healing from a break. And they have helped provide funding for my van, which has helped me so much.
I hear you love swimming, though.
Yeah, I do.
Why do you love swimming?
Maybe it's because of the freedom I get, because once I'm out of the casts and out of all that and I get to go swimming, I feel a little bit more free. I'm able to do what I want, because if I do it outside of the pool, I won't be able to do that. I'll break or something, and I get that freedom, so it's always been help.
What do you have to say to people about kids like you?
Don't think we have limits.
Yes.
We push ourselves. We want to do more. We always do, even though we need some help. We have the same aspirations as you. Yes. We want to go through school and be a regular kid. We're not bound to these things that you think we are. Yeah. We're able to do more than you think.
And for the donors watching the telethon, what do you have to say to them? Because they're going to help kids be regular kids.
Mm-hmm. It has changed my life having Easter seals and donating and being able to give these kids this opportunity to live the life that they want to it's really life-changing.
You have overcome so much in your 11 years, and I want to congratulate you on being the 2019 Easter Seals Provincial Ambassador. Job well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. The telethon is happening this Sunday. Madison's going to camp for the first time this summer. It starts at 10 a.m. and goes until 5 p.m. You can tune in right here on CBC Television. It's also going to be streaming on our CBC Gem app. You can also donate online, eastersealstelethon.org/Toronto. Funds raised will go towards making a difference for children and youth with physical disabilities in our province. Stay with us. We'll be right back. It may not feel like spring in much of Canada today, but here's another sign it really is on the way. Look at this, a sight for sore eyes. This park in eastern China has almost 5 million of these cherry-like blossoms known as Shibazakura. Now, I know I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Somebody's going to tweet at me. Covering hills and fields, gardeners here know the plants as lawn phlox or pink moss, much easier to say. And they're actually native to North America. They come in several shades of pink, white, and purple, allowing gardeners to get creative. And Nick Cernkovich, 'tis the season for gardening, buddy.
It is. I'm glad I didn't have to say that, by the way.
It's got every day on Instagram or Twitter, people are all these little
correcting
coming up, right?
Yeah, I know. Well, I'd probably be getting 10 times that. I can say drizzle, by the way. That much I can say. We had a little bit of drizzle right now. We have fog advisories in effect as well down around the Golden Horseshoe. Tonight, 3 degrees, 12 degrees though there, and there's the sunshine we were talking about. So
great for the flowers.
For the flowers, exactly. A little bit of rain, a little bit of sun. It's all good. It's all good. We're into spring.
Now, I was saying every day you see people tweeting out as the little flowers are coming up with the tulips.
You see the pictures?
Right, they're showing the pictures. They're dying for those flowers to come here. Have a good weekend, everybody. I'll see you back there on Monday.